Hi everyone, it's Leslie from Hungry Healthy Crafts, and today I have a card, quite a special card actually. It is an exploding box card. So it's one of these cards that actually folds flat, but by the time you take it out of the envelope, it becomes more of a 3D ornament, I guess. And this is for my friend Alexia, who managed to get a new house and a new job within a week. So I thought it'd be fun to incorporate two cards into one. So when I turn around the card, you'll see one side says new home and then the other side says new job, and we have a whole card full of fun critters as well. Now to actually make the box, I chose my envelope first, and my envelope would fit a 5-inch square card. So I need two panels of my box to be 5 inches. So I've taken a piece of A4 cardstock and trimmed it down to 5 inches tall. And now I'm scoring at 2.5, 5, 7.5 and 10 inches. And then you need to score another one at about 10.5 inches. So you have that extra half an inch there to basically like a little tab to stick the box together. And I'm going to use that line there as a guide of where to cut the card. So now I'm turning my card 90 degrees and I'm going to score along the 2.5 inch mark right down the middle, lengthwise. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to make all of those creases nice and, well, nice and creased really. And so the top section I'm going to cut from the middle to the end, and that's going to create my flaps. I can get rid of this end piece here because I only need the bottom section to secure the box together. So each of these flaps just now, they're actually a little bit too long. It doesn't really look like a box because they're too long, but I'm not worrying about that just now. You'll see how I trim that down later. And also for your box, you're going to need some thin pieces of card, about 1 centimeter wide, and you need to crease it so that the middle of those two creases on each of these pieces of card is exactly 2.5 inches. And these are going to be the little struts that go inside the box that help hold up all of our critters. Now I made 4 of these. I think 4 is a good number. If you have too many, it gets a little bit cramped. And but then if you have too few, you're going to have a lot of gaps in the box. But you can play around and find what works best for you. So when I have the box all assembled, these little struts are going to go in here like this. And when you fold the box down, they will fold with your box. Now to add some colour to my box, I'm using some Distress inks. I'm using shaded lilac first of all, blended with a little cracked pistachio. And before I move over to the other side with some pink, I'm going to trim down that top panel with those flaps of my boxes. So I've trimmed them down now. I've taken a little bit off, but I've kept those pieces, and you'll see in a few minutes what I do with them. I added some spun sugar to add some of that nice light pink colour to that top section of those flaps. But when I open the box, it's actually this side, the inside of the box that you see. So I'm going to add a little bit more pink of the spun sugar pink towards the base of the box, and the edge of those flaps I'm going to fade out into white. To reactivate the Distress ink, I'm just taking some clean water and spraying that with my Distress sprayer, and then I'll pick up the water using a paper towel just to give a lovely distressed look. Now I wanted those flaps of the box to be a little bit more pretty, so I've taken the scalloped rectangle die from the Mama Elephant All Prettied Up die collection, and I'm pushing each of the flaps one by one down underneath the cutting part of the die and running it through the Cuttlebug, and that gives a lovely scalloped edge to each of these flaps of the box. Now I really like the stitching effect, so I'm taking another of the stitched border dies and I'm adding stitching effect on the left and right of each of these panels. And then these little white pieces here that I cut off the top flaps, I'm also going to use them to add a little bit more embellishment to the card as well. So I'm going to cut the edge into a scallop shape just by using exactly the same die, and I'll also add another one of the stitched border dies along the middle section of each of these white panels. This stitch border here is the one that has little diagonal lines. So these will go at the bottom of my box and it'll look like a lovely lacy bottom. To give the box a little bit more pizzazz, I'm using some stamps. This is the Bits and Pieces stamp set from W+9, and I'm using exactly the same inks that I used to create the distressing. So now I can stick this together. I would recommend when you are sticking it together that you put it flat on your surface, and that means that it's going to fold flat really easily whenever you want to put it into your envelope. Now I've trimmed down each of these little struts, and I'm going to stick them in the inside. It is a little bit fiddly, but I found if you put it flat on your surface, you can get your fingers in a bit easier. So let's add these to the bottom as well, and the box is pretty much done. And you can test it, fold it flat, see how that works. And now I can move over to decorating the card. I've stamped some of these tree images and also like a little banner, and this is going to help me create a banner across the card. So I'll have this one that says new job and one that says new home, and I want it to hang almost like from a washing line. But first I want to stamp all my critters. So I'm using the Baby Party Animal stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm stamping them onto some smooth white cardstock, but I also need the reverse of these stamped images because I want it to be double-sided. So this is one technique where you stamp it onto some acetate and then lay the acetate onto your card and give it a good rub. I find that this did produce some like blurry effects, and I had to go over it again with a pen. But another way that you can achieve this reverse stamping is by putting your stamped image upside down onto a light box and then simply using a pen to trace around the stamped image. So now I have my critters and my accessories, both the front and the back, and I'm going to very quickly colour them in using some Copic markers. Now, because I want them to go back to front and I want to make sure that they're cut out perfectly. This would be much easier if I had the dies, but unfortunately I don't. So I'm lining them up using my light box and then holding them together while I fussy cut around the edge. So now to put the little banner in place, like I said, I wanted it to almost to hang like off a washing line. So I'm going to stick these little poles into each corner of my box, and then I will stick on the little banner whilst the box is flat. So I'm going to use some acrylic blocks to hold it down flat in place, and I'll put some double-sided sticky tape on the back of one of these banners, put some string on top, sandwich it together with the top of the little banner, and then I'll wrap these round each of the poles on the left and the right. And I've got double-sided sticky tape on the inside of these little tree panel things. I just want to make sure that they don't move at all. So now when my box is closed, that string is taut, but when my box is open, it hangs down a little bit. But you can see on one side it says new job and on the other side it says new home. Now for my critters, some I'll stick straight onto those little struts, but others I want to be almost like popping out. So it's hard to see on the video, but I've taken a thin strip of acetate and stuck it in between the little critters as I sandwich the two pieces together. And this means that I can stick the acetate to those little struts and almost like they're exploding out. Well, let's not say exploding. They are jumping out of this little box. So you can see here I've got my bunny. He's got some acetate underneath, and I've added a little bit of sticky tape to the bottom of it, and I'm sticking that onto the strut. One bit to be careful though is to make sure that the sticky tape is only on the strut and doesn't stick out at the bottom, because when you close over your card, if there's any exposed sticky tape, it will stick your card closed. So I just stuck everything on together and the card is pretty much finished. I did trim off those really long ends of the string, but that was it. Quite a lot of colouring, a little bit of cutting, but the effect was definitely worth it because Alexia loved her card. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please do give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and hop on over to hungryhealthycrafts.com for more of my projects. Have a very crafty day. Bye!